Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Nation. Welcome to another episode of Defending the Boys. I am your host, D. Will, and today we are going to be discussing a little bit of negotiations talk during the combine, just because there's a lot of stuff to go over. So we're going to be talking about Brandon Aubrey, what he needs. Obviously, we've already done the Javonte Williams. We're going to also talk about George Pickens a little bit, although I'm gonna breeze over that because y'all already told me y'all don't like that. And we're gonna talk a little bit about Clowney, or for that matter, we're just going to be talking about the pass rushing in general. So we're gonna do all that right now.
They are an accident waiting to happen. Stephen A, hush your mouth, talking all that noise. You can hate all you want, but we still them boys. Dirty, dirty D. Texas where we stay at. Me inside an order till you know that's where we play at. Hey, this year, this the payback. Yeah, we them Cowboys, and no, we don't play that. Work. This is Cowboy Nation. Work. Welcome to Cowboy Nation. Work. Y'all can keep on hate. Work.
That's right, Cowboys Nation. Just a little bit of negotiations talk. No need this much more here. I think I'll be okay. So, like we said, we're going to talk a little bit about George Pickens. You guys have made it absolutely clear that you don't understand what I mean when I say that the franchise tag is not the best thing for the Cowboys. Yes, I understand that the Cowboys are looking to put the franchise tag on, which buys them time to get a long-term deal done. I know that. I definitely understand that. That my statement was not a, hey, I don't understand why they would do it at all. I understand that. My statement is simply the franchise tag in itself isn't the best deal, and I would prefer them coming up with something before even having to do that this week while we're at the combine. That would be long term. And the reasoning for that is similar to Javonte Williams, the deal that's already done. His cap hit for this year is only $3.4 million, I believe is what I read. He's making $8 million a year, but his cap hit for this year is only $3.4 million. Now, if he had an $8 million cap hit, that would be difficult to deal with. But that extra $4.6 million on the cap, even though he's getting $8 million, is beneficial in trying to work out some of these other deals and eventually bringing in other free agents, right? And so that's all that I'm actually saying. If you want to put the franchise tag on him, but you don't get a deal done until July, well, that $28 million is counting towards your cap this year right now, and that's less other free agents. So not only are you struggling to put a deal together with him all the way through July, but you really don't even have the money during the big portion of the free agent period to, well, I'm going to say you don't have the money, but you have way less money during a big portion of the free agent period to actually work out deals with other people. But if you can come in and say, look, we said we have two number ones, we'll pay you what we're paying CD. 34 a year, 3 years, that's a little over $100 million. It shows that we have two ones, we're being fair. It's in the upper echelon of what wide receivers are getting, all of that. I feel like a deal like that actually works, right? And if it get done soon enough and you can put sign-in bonuses and different things like that, so now he's getting paid $34 million, but instead of counting 34 or even 28 million, now you're looking at possibly only counting 16 or 18 million. You have 10 million additional dollars to work out other deals with. That's my point. That's the point that I'm trying to make. I'm basically saying you work out a deal long term now that gives you the opportunity to put other deals together. That's all I'm saying. Now, with that being said, if they're asking for 40, my plan don't work, and you got to put the franchise tag on him, and you might even be asking him to play on the franchise tag. and we can have that conversation if it ever kind of gets to that point. But I'm just simply saying, if this week we could get on the phone and get way closer to a deal that really, really, really makes sense while everyone is in Indianapolis, while everyone is there and can talk, and you can kind of, hey, you go talk to some of these other guys and see if you're going to get $40 million from one of them, so that we can get down to earth and really start to talk about what a deal is. I just feel like that can actually happen. Everybody's there. You can talk to these other coaches. Hey, David, go walk around and start talking to these other guys. See if you're going to get $40 million somewhere else. If you are, tell them to come holler at us. Maybe we'll talk about a trade at that point, but I don't think you're going to get that kind of money from anywhere else. So that's what I meant last week. A lot of people came after me because they didn't think that maybe, I don't know, they don't think I know what the purpose of it is. I definitely understood the purpose. I just feel like that's not in the best interest. It's in the best interest if they can't work out a deal, put the franchise tag on him, keep anybody else from messing with him. He's not going to be in free agency trying to go to another team. That part's okay, but I still believe that there's a better deal that we can actually make. As I mentioned with Javonte Williams, his deal is done. He's getting his $8 million a year. It's, not counting $8 million towards the cap, gives us plenty of extra room because it's only, like I said, about 3.4, 3.6, somewhere around there, $1 million towards the cap. And that's actually a good deal. But when I think about coming down to earth, I like to ask Brandon Aubrey and his team to come down to earth, because I can't pay my kicker more than I pay my running back. Yes, that is shade towards all kickers. I understand that. I don't care. I played football. It was the kicker. Yes, this is definitely one of the better kickers. And if the Cowboys are offering you best kicker in the league money, take the best kicker in the league money. You're still not better than my running back. You don't deserve more money than the running back. That's my opinion. People, not going to like it. I don't think I'm wrong there. There's a lot of people who agree with me. DLLS, they kind of said something similar. I've heard some of the other guys. I don't want to call any names because I don't remember exactly who, so I don't want to say, this person agrees or that person agrees. But I promise you, I'm not the only one who believes that Brandon Aubrey making more than $8 million a year is really ludicrous. So I'm always putting a second round tender. And look, I think that if you look up kickers, and look, we're going to have one of the better offenses in the league if we do what we're supposed to do with George Pickens, right? If it boils down to it, maybe we just don't need the best kicker too. It would be great. Obviously, it's great to have it. I love it. I love having a kicker that I know as soon as we cross the 50, we good to go. I love that. But maybe we don't need it. Not for $10 million. Not when we're already arguing with a bunch of other players. Like that's just a lot of money. I would love to have Brandon Aubrey. I mean, it is just a luxury to have somebody as good as him on your team. I feel like that's a big part of your offense, just knowing that even when you struggle, man, if we can just cross midfield, even if we're struggling in the red zone, we know we got guaranteed points or almost automatic points coming. That's great. But man, for $10 million, I think that's a lot. I think a second round tender, basically saying if somebody wants to come get him, you can offer him that $10 million and, give us your second round pick and you can have him. I think that's that's more than fair. We found him in the USFL, and maybe we need to go back to Canada or, the USFL again, or the UFL, I guess, to try to find another kicker. Maybe there's a free agent somewhere that's already kicked in the NFL that we can go get. I don't know. But for a second round pick, if someone's going to give us that and pay him $10 million, sure hate to lose you, but I can't agree with paying my kicker that much money. Moving on to Clowney. I believe it was Stephen Jones say that we weren't even sure if CP would like Clowney from pass rushing standpoint, if he's going to fit that scheme. I thought that was interesting because I hadn't thought about it, and we haven't been told exactly what a pass rusher from him needs to be, and if he's looking for that to come more of a hand in the ground guy, a stand up guy. I mean, there are some possibilities. We did bring in what's his name? I know him as BT Jordan, but Brandon, there we go. Brandon Jordan. We did bring in Brandon Jordan, who is the get to the quarterback whisperer. Like, he has literally for years, he actually trained Clowney. He's trained a lot of the top pass rushers in the league. He was coaching with Denver, and there's no surprise of the correlation between them having one of the top pass rushes in the league and him being on their staff. This guy's amazing. So, again, he's already coached Clowney, and somebody who can get him to where he needs to be able to get to the football. And if that's the case, if he didn't want to come, we ended up with a Chubb. It would be the same, very similar situation there. But I do believe that this could be a situation where we're saying, okay, we don't really know where our money is going to be, and if we're going to have to, pay an exorbitant amount of money for a kicker, let's just say, for instance, or whatever, we may not be able to bring Clowney back, and we're going to have to make sure that our players who are here, whoever they are able to get to the quarterback, and we're going to teach them all the things necessary, including our youngster in Donovan Ezaraku. Being able to say, hey, we're going to teach you the things necessary to get to the quarterback. We're bringing in a guy who can make you or help take you to the next level as a young pass rusher, so that maybe we don't miss out on not having someone like Clowney, right? So we can save that money, train you the right way, Donovan Ezaraku, train James Houston the right way, help our normal linemen. When you start talking about Perion Winfrey, when you start talking about Solomon Thomas, even with Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams in the middle, being able to get them to where they can create pass rush from their individual positions. Because I do believe that you'll see a lot of flex in where like a Perion and a Solomon Thomas is going to end up, as opposed to where Quinnen and Kenny Clark is going to line up. And so now it's kind of like, man, we're shooting from all corners. And we're able to get pass rush from a lot of different positions, setting the edge from a lot of different areas of the field. I think that's going to be pretty crucial. And if you can get pressure from those positions, so now you got Solomon and Perion Winfrey, getting pressure basically from the edge, depending on how we slide and move our fronts and dropping people back and pulling people. I mean, just the whole disguise of it all. And then you have a James Houston, and then you have a Donovan Ezaraku, and then you are able to bring in, someone in free agency who's able to do some things from the middle linebacker standpoint, right? The inside linebacker standpoint. I think you have a good pass rush, and that could maybe not bode well for bringing Clowney back, but it does bode well for having a pass rush. So with that being said, if you got somebody who's trying to play hardball, like a Brandon Chubb asking for too much money, so we're unable to get him, or Clowney who doesn't, maybe want to accept what the Cowboys feel that he's worth, there is a possibility, and I've had these conversations with better coaching. Some of the things that people are saying that we have to have, we may not have to have. I'm gonna tell y'all that I'm starting to think that with the new coach, that we may or may not necessarily be going after an edge. And everybody was like, oh, with this new coach, we're definitely going to bring in a young edge because they're going to make him well, we kind of got a young edge, right? We got that last year. and we got a coach that can train him up. And then we got some James Houston type players, and like I said, it's the Perrion Winfreys and Solomon Thomases, and maybe we're not going after edge first. Maybe they are going to say, cornerback and or safety and linebacker, and we're going to run with the corners and the edges that we have with better coaching. That's a possibility. That's something that we have to look at, and not just assume that, oh man, we got to have a cornerback, or we got to have, this, or we got to have that. I mean, we're bringing in the people where we can say, hey, we're taking people who we know that are good. We know James Houston is good. We watched him be good last year. We know he'd be good. We watched Perrion Winfrey be good in training camp last year. Before Kenny Clark and Quentin Williams got on the team, I was believing that he may have been our best defensive tackle at the time. So we know that he has the ability to do certain things, and with better coaching, because we don't know what Eberflus was doing last year. And yeah, I'm just saying, like, with better coaching, there's a possibility that some of these players that we know are good can continue to be good. Like we didn't get what we wanted to get out of Overshawn. Is that because of the injury, or is that because of the coaching? We didn't get what we wanted to get out of Ezeraku. He couldn't even at the beginning of the year get a rush in, and we know he has the capabilities. We watched him in college be able to do things that he didn't even attempt to do until the end of the year. And I think he'd had a bigger uh, pass rush and sack ratio if it wasn't for the scheme. I honestly believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that a lot of the people just that they weren't allowed. They were so into gap integrity that they weren't allowed to pin their ears back and go after the quarterback, and that causes no sacks. And with that case, some people are going to unfortunately fall off because of it. But I think that even Fowler, was one of those guys who um, basically he's going to be penalized because of how bad the coaching and the scheme was last year. I wholeheartedly believe that. I think that he won't be here next year, and he's going to go somewhere and do okay, and it's going to be because of the coaching. I said the same thing about Nashawn Wright. We didn't really like him. Then he goes somewhere and leads the league in certain stats in recoveries and things. So I'm just simply saying that we have to keep our minds open to other possibilities. We can't just stick in there and say that. I mean, because there's not enough. There's not enough positions. We don't have a second round right now. We have 2 first, no second, no third. That means we got 2 people who realistically we can bank on giving us some type of, like, bank on it. I'm not saying none of the other ones will, but that we can bank on giving us some type of guaranteed assistance this year. Whoever those first 2 first round draft picks are, those are people who are going to play. Those are people who we know should be on the field, right? Everybody else is probably going to be trying to make the team, to be honest with you. So free agency, I'm talking about decisions that help free agency. That's why I want to get George Pickens done now, so that we can possibly bring in some guys in free agency that will help and have the money to do that, because we don't have the full 28 million blocking the money. Again, I know that we can pull certain levers and hit buttons and make, the whole Dak Prescott thing is going to happen, and all of these things. I understand all that can happen, but there's still almost $10 million that you can save probably just from the George Pickens standpoint, from the Brandon Aubrey standpoint. Another, piece of money. They did decent, in my opinion. They did good. I ain't not even decent. They did good with the Javonte Williams, getting him somewhere where he can be happy and not counting more than $4 million on the salary cap. These are the things that we need to keep doing so that we can find out where those 2 draft picks are going to have to be to help get us to where we need to be. So there we go. We talked a little bit about negotiations moving into combine week. That's pretty much all I got for you. We're going to enjoy the combine, see kind of how these players are going, and later on after we get to see some of their 40s and their shuttles and different things like that, we'll start to talk about who we really, 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 really like in the draft. And maybe we'll do another mock draft next week sometime. Okay. All right, guys. That's all the time I have for you. I am D Will. This is Defending the Boys. We're out.